Hello, Tarot family, collective people out there on YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Tarot by the Intuitive Teacup. I am going to do a collective reading. I hardly ever do these. I just kind of felt called to do it. With that full moon in Libra, to no one's surprise, I did in fact kind of get a couples reading, so pulled the cards off camera. I've kind of sat on the energies a little bit just to kind of interpret it, so let's hop in. If this message is yours, take it and run with it, only if it resonates. Pieces and parts of it may not, that's okay. Come into it with an open heart and an open mind and release the rest, okay? So this is your classic Celtic cross spread. So the first card out the deck was the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups can sometimes talk about illusion. It can sometimes be where we fool ourselves or where we want to believe something, maybe out of the emotions we're feeling versus the logic, or it can be feeling overwhelmed with emotions. To me, this is saying you have options. And the thing is, I know immediately I'm sort of being met with this opposition of, no, but I don't really. And it's like, well, you do, but you may not have options that you're liking so far. So you can always interpret this through the lens of maybe, applying to jobs or some sort of life choice, right? Options. But it doesn't mean they're options you like. What I'm sort of getting, and I know this reading starts off a little bit lackluster, but stick with me because it's actually incredibly kind of positive the further we get into it. I like this message in a sense because it's saying, although currently you may have some options or some bites on your line, maybe it's on dating apps or something, it's saying you're kind of looking at the candidates or whatever it is and going, ugh, like you're a little bit torn. And I think there's a part of you that feels guilty for not pursuing something because it is readily available to you. But in a sense, I think it's smarter to hold off for a lot of you because really your intuition is kicking in and saying, but they just don't feel right. There's something about it that's giving me pause. So rather than rushing in out of boredom or complacency, or what's a good way of phrasing it? Settling, really, right? It's like there may be no other great option. So rather than rushing in and taking, signing a job contract that it's just okay, it's not really what I want, which I totally get. Sometimes we don't have the luxury of being choosy. But the thing is, for most of you, again, the further I get into this, I think there's going to be some good things tapering off. So I see this as, I see what's out there. And as much as I may be growing impatient, like Nine of Wands indicates I've been here a long time. Like how much longer do I have to kind of stand at this post hoping for the right one to come along or the right thing? The answer is as long as you want to, but ultimately I think you're going to know when it is your time to fly, when it is your time to jump on that opportunity, because you will feel some sense of emotion or some sense of enthusiasm, excitement that you currently have not experienced, and I'm guessing for quite some time, right? And I mean, even seasonally, this message makes sense depending on where you are, of course, watching this. It's springtime, the birds are chirping again. There's like a more lighthearted energy. We're in that fire energy of Aries season, which is all about action, right? Our passion, what lights your fire, what makes your heart sing. So it feels like for a while you've been waiting to get to this point, and I do think the breaking point is coming, but it's saying don't give in almost to like a sort of devil energy, that temptation of, well, there's nothing really great, so I guess I'll just take that one. Like, no, there is no, I guess I'll just. It's like, no, wait for the one that you really want to go after. Because ultimately, there is no mistake in choosing one of these things, but perhaps the reason you're feeling lackluster is because Spirit is trying to align you to the correct one. And so by jumping too soon, I guess I'm just posing the question, what is there to lose, and is it a lot? Or you feel like you're going to miss out on the wrong opportunity by jumping too soon, or vice versa? And I mean, I don't really think there are any wrong opportunities, but in this spread specifically, especially because coming up sort of in your past here, the Hermit is showing me you guys have been either in solitude or possibly single for a long time, or with the Hermit, something to do with a Virgo. Shout out for any of my Virgos out there. Doing a lot of introspection, some deep thinking, and more or less, the Hermit is not the party animal, right? Typically, it kind of represents father time, right? So there's something about needing to gain more wisdom on something, and so I think this is the point you're at. I guess what I'm trying to say in a clunky way, I apologize, is that you've gained a lot of wisdom in this waiting period, and so I think you have a new set of expectations. I think you have higher expectations, and so by faltering a little bit off course, and again, maybe being a little bit impatient with the timeline of what's coming into you, you may be undermining all the wisdom you've gained about what it is that you really deserve. And so in terms of, I don't necessarily want to say what's coming in, but sort of in the highest spiritual vibration, what you're sort of, this is like, I think what you intrinsically know is that you should keep manifesting for the good one, because look, you're the magician. And even the way this card is almost floating above the rest, I think this represents the idea of something coming in, but because it's not physically, tangibly in front of you yet, you have no choice but to have a sense of faith that the universe is going to deliver you something great that I think you've been working on manifesting. But again, more or less, this kind of feels like a test from the universe. Like, you have these grand ideas of everything that you want, and I think that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But essentially, I think the universe is kind of playing like not a game with you. It's not malicious, but to see what you're willing to take and ultimately to test you. Have you really learned the lessons of self-worth? Of aligning to something greater than maybe yourself, like the universe, right? Something spiritual, whatever you believe in. This is about not settling and not being fooled or tricked, especially by older people who you had to, and I don't mean older as in age-wise, people or situations, jobs, whatever from your past that I think you learned some difficult lessons where maybe you kind of felt beaten down by it. It felt like you maybe pulled a lot of the slack or had to take a lot of, I'm almost getting reprimanding. It's like it kind of felt like you got your ass handed to you a few times, whether it was dating or in your job or whatever. More or less, I think with this period of rest or stagnation, it may not have even been that. It really, spiritual awakening. I think a lot of my collective people out there, if you're resonating with this, you've learned to set better boundaries for yourself. And so you're manifesting something that is in alignment with who you are currently. And so naturally along the way, there's going to be people who are attracted to your energy, attracted to your light, attracted to your newfound empowerment. But is that reason to let the wall down and let them in? That's for you to decide. My gut reaction is no, because FYI, sneak peek, this ends with a really good match. This ends with the lovers. This ends with Beauty and the Beast, right? So we got Cinderella here, manifesting her dreams. This makes me think of Pretty Woman, right? When the prostitute gets everything she ever dreamed of, and she says, "This isn't real life. This doesn't happen, Kit." She's talking to her friend Kit. "Who does this happen to?" And Kit goes, "I'll tell you who, Cinda-fucking-rella," right? I like that. She says it with her little gangster accent, or however you want to say it. I don't know, where is she from? I was gonna say Brooklyn, but I think that takes place in Los Angeles. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Side note, movie quotes. Okay. So then this, I don't know, I falter. Sometimes this category can represent like your hopes and fears. It can also, like more or less, it can be positives or negatives to look out for. So you have the Two of Pentacles here, which does talk about options and decisions. There's a huge theme in this reading of needing to make decisions, but also fear of making the wrong decision. So again, I always want to put a plug in for listen to your heart, listen to your intuitions. That is your emotional guidance system. Of course, filter in the logic, but more or less your intuition is your direct source to the divine. So if you're looking for wisdom and in a sense clarity of your path forward, that really does have to do with your intuition. It doesn't always have to do with people pleasing and assessing what everybody else around you need. You got to start with you, right? Put on your own oxygen mask before you help your kids, that kind of thing. I also think because there is this fear, we have to remember that your intuition is never keeping you safe. Your intuition is never going to keep you stuck in terms of stagnancy, in terms of not growing, in terms of not doing that thing that could be really good for you, but saying, no, that's a little out of our comfort zone. You know, we may not be as skilled as everybody else. Like your intuition wouldn't do that. Your intuition is like thrive, grow, become the person you are supposed to be, even through trial and error. Even your mistakes really do serve you as lessons. So I think it's very possible that in your hopes and fears, you're having to like weigh out two different options with the Two of Pentacles, and I'm almost getting, I feel like this is kind of a crude thing to say, but almost like a Sophie's Choice, right? That metaphor of like, how do you choose one? Because I love them both. Ultimately, I do think you need to make a choice, but it's about releasing control of what you think you need and more or less going in the direction where you see the most potential, but it might not be the easiest route. There may be some risk involved in how you move forward. Others of you, I don't know if this is needing to make a choice between jobs or between romantic prospects. Some of you, it seems like you have two really good options, but the same thing. It's like, but I don't really want either one of them. And for some of you, it feels like there's this guilt about it. Like I have these two things and on the surface, they look good. And like, there's no reason why I shouldn't be happy and accepting these blessings, these gifts. But ultimately, for some of you, it feels like by accepting this job or this person in your life, you feel like you would be settling. Or if you're not settling, it feels like there's something else you need to pursue first in order to either get it out of your system or just to make sure that you're not in a place where by accepting this offer, you're always living in a regretful state of like, well, what if I had taken that job instead of, committing to this relationship? What if I had asked that person out before? Do you know what I mean? Like there's something about, I get it because I think you're trying to, I can tell you guys are like very spiritually aligned. Like you're trying to do good by you. You're trying to listen to your heart. You're trying to listen to the universe. But I think you're doubting the importance of putting yourself first. It's almost like you're trying to check the ego, but what you don't understand is you do really have to feed your soul what it wants. And for some of you, just because you've been given this blessing of opportunities, it doesn't always mean it's right for you. And that's why, it's like, I don't know how to call it a hope or a fear because I think it's both. I think it's very hopeful that new things are happening and blessings are coming into you. That in itself is great. But on the surface, some of you guys are like, it looks good, but when I really dig deeper, I don't think that's what I actually want. And I like that. I think that's you using your intuition a lot. Let's throw something on that. It's hard because these is super general for a collective reading. Ultimately, I can tell what's coming in for you is you're going to stick with your gut. And I don't mean stick in terms of like not progress. I think you more or less already, your compass is pointed north. I think most of you know ideally where you would like to go or where you're headed, but there's a little bit of trepidation in terms of completing, bringing closure to some final ending that does involve a heavy decision. And ultimately, the reason why I use that like tacky metaphor of like Sophie's Choice, it's a movie. If you guys don't get the reference, don't worry about it. But it's like a really brutal decision where this woman essentially, I think, has to choose one child over the other. It's a dark movie. Anyway, that's what I mean. It's like by choosing something that is in alignment with your heart, more or less, it feels like you have to be the bearer of bad news to someone else. And I don't necessarily think that's wholly and completely true, but I think you're beating yourself up about it because in a sense I think a lot of you are detaching from a former lifestyle or former chapter where you were very much a people pleaser. You were trying to cater to those around you. And this new start, right? Number one, magician. This is about manifesting what you need first and foremost. And I just want to highlight in this particular message, there's nothing selfish about that, I think if anything, 2020 gave us the gift of stepping away from the chaos of life and really aligning to who we really are and what we really want. I think we needed that, as a collective to sort of realign to what we're trying to accomplish in this life. You've graduated, and for some of you it could be a literal graduation, but this is exactly what I was saying about closure. There's a completion of a cycle, as there is with this Nine of Wands. So rather than jumping at a random, I don't want to say a random decision, but whatever, a random conclusion or a random choice that doesn't necessarily feel profound or significant, I just keep wanting to say wait till the right one comes along, because as much as you will have a little bit of trepidation of, bringing the sword down to end something, more or less, I think your heart is going to tell you that is the right choice. And so it will make that ending or that conversation less difficult because you're honoring your heart. A lot of you may feel like you're being forced to make a decision and you're not ready to do it yet. And I keep getting one or the other. You can't have both. And that doesn't mean forever. It's very circumstantial. In this specific spread, there's, maybe it has to do with location or distance, right? Maybe that's what this card is representing. And I hate to make it always about this, but, essentially a great metaphor is like, well, if you're going to take the job in New York, are you going to try and maintain the long distance relationship with the person in, I don't know, Paris, right? Like there's something about distance, and one or the other is taking up a lot of your time. It's essentially needing to prioritize things that allow your life to function with more ease. You're wrapping something up, you're closing it out. This may even have to do with saying goodbye to somebody in multiple senses. For some of you, it could literally be your kids going off to college or something like that. There's almost like a bittersweet ending, because here's the thing. If you are breaking up with someone, or again, sending kids off to college or saying goodbye to an elder, something like that, there is a sense of love for a lot of you here. It's like, I'm sort of getting like, I'm always going to love you, but it's like your paths have started to, the opposite of cross, go opposite ways. And I guess the universe is saying to me, know that this is happening for a reason. So rather than looking at and getting very overwhelmed, not wanting to make a decision and putting the walls up and not wanting to have conversations. In a sense, you're only delaying the inevitable. A lot of you're trying to maintain control of everything, and by, tightening in that control or those reins, it's actually having the opposite effect where everything seems to be falling out of your control. It's stressing you out. It's giving you a lot of anxiety. That's sort of why I really like the strength card coming in. I do maintain, and I don't even know how this is going to make sense for some of you, but I just have to have faith it will. You can't have both. You have to release one. Others of you, again, there's this storyline of I have two great things here, and yet I don't really want them. It's not that I despise them. It's not that I hate them. I know I've outgrown them. I know these are not for me long term. And so ultimately, I think you guys are going to decide to release and let go of what doesn't serve you, even if this person is still very much a key figure in your life or a key player, a great friend, something like that, a good coworker. Strength is coming in. So some of you may have an opportunity to work alongside a Leo. In terms of major arcana, I always like to mention it. It's just my thing. Gemini and Virgo are here in the Magician. You also have Leo coming in the near future card. In the past, you have a Virgo, possibly. And again, that could be something in your chart, too, if that's your sun sign, double confirmation. A lot of you are going to pursue something in music or something more creative. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be for career, but in a hobby, you're going to be putting more time into your hobbies or something that you just enjoy personally, especially something very spiritual or creative. And I'm literally seeing like guitar or stringed instruments. It could be any instrument, really. And I think part of it is because I'm getting the sense that some of you guys are going off to do something very adventurous or very independent or something that may be perceived as risky, but a lot of you feel called to do it. And so, say it's a job or a relationship, when there is downtime in this new chapter, I'm getting the idea that a lot of you aren't going to have that circle or that network of friends or people or family that you always had beside you. So to fill your time, it's like you're finding things to participate in that bring you a sense of joy. So whether it's arts and crafts or playing music or reading or singing, or there's some sort of downtime hobby that you're participating a lot in, and it's your source of strength. It's something that gives you a tremendous sense of passion and inspiration. And I can't help but read this as through the lens of romance because of that Libra full moon, which is so much about finding emotional comfort in partnership, but also, the opposite, Aries, because that's where the sun is, being strong and confident in our independence. That's really, I'm seeing that theme a lot. And so I could totally see this as I'm starting to set healthier boundaries in my love and romantic life. It took me a long time to sort of align to this true north, and I had to spend a lot of time in solitude to understand who I am and what I really want. Now I'm manifesting bigger things. I have much higher expectations for myself as well as from partners. And again, it has nothing to do with ego. It has to do with self-respect. So a lot of you understand that you may need to release an ex that you've been holding on to for a long time, or you may need to let go of the relationship that you were keeping out of convenience, but you starting to recognize maybe that, as much as I love them, I'm not in love with them. That's very much what I get here too. And maybe this has to do with setting healthy boundaries with a family, a friend, whatever. A lot of you are choosing to stand strong on your own 2 feet and throw yourselves into hobbies, not as an avoidance, because I think you've already done a tremendous amount of shadow work and looking at your own pain and looking at your own shadow side and understanding where those triggers are coming from that make us feel a little bit uncomfortable. You are ascending. I love that this card is coming up on top because it shows me you are vibing really high. I think a lot of you are going to go out on a limb and choose to be alone. Or again, if it's not alone, it's choose to go after something that it's a little bit uncharted territory for you, but it's showing a tremendous amount of strength of character, a strong sense of independence, and again, a respect for yourself, and that you have important things to do in this life. It's almost like you guys feel a calling to pursue that thing you never did, or you always wanted to, but it always got put on the back burner. That's somehow becoming your priority. A lot of you may be moving to a place where there's an extreme climate difference. So I don't know if it's warm to cool or cool to hot, but yeah, there's something about a lot of you are packing a tremendous amount of, I don't know how else to say it other than clothing that is very specific to the season or the location that you're headed to. And I know that seems like, well, duh. But what I'm getting at is there's an extreme change in that weather climate, or however you want to say it. There could be a collaboration with a Leo. And what's also coming in is implementation of the lesson that a lot of you have learned about releasing control and understanding that what is truly meant for you in this lifetime, you will never have to chase and force yourself upon, whether it's a person or a job. Again, knowing in a higher vibe that the universe is looking out for you. The universe truly does want you to be happy. They want you to succeed. They want you to feel fulfilled at the end of the day. Understanding that by forcing something to fit in your life and not allowing it to breathe, not allowing it to fly free, I think a lot of you have, and please don't be offended, but almost suffocated opportunities because you were loving or out of a state of fear, right? Of not wanting to let go because what if? I think a lot of you are starting to become more comfortable with the idea of, but what if? What if I do have to let this go? What if I let something go and I truly do love it and I truly do want to be in this person's life? But what if I choose myself first and I go and get that degree or I go and pursue that internship or that job or whatever it is? I think a lot of you are coming to the conclusion that if we love each other enough, we will figure out a way to make it work. Maybe this is indicating a long-distance relationship, in which case I would say, yeah, that definitely falls under hopes and fears. Like, I hope we can do it, but I fear that we can't, right? There's a lot more to be discovered here, but I see a lot of you standing very firm in your convictions of like, no, I need to do this. And it displays, again, a strong sense of character. Give me one more on this, please. Why is strength coming through? Yeah, look, literally, you guys are going after your wish fulfillment with peace of mind, right? If at one point in time I could see this 9 of Wands and 7 of Cups confusion, not feeling clear about what decisions to make, am I blocking myself from opportunities? Am I, setting myself up for defeat? There's peace of mind. You're getting out of the 5 of Swords, which is all about kind of confusion and chaos and backstabbing and not knowing who to trust, and also kind of feeling remorse and not remorse, feeling guilty about actions of things you said or did that, like you're all up in your head. This is you coming to peace with, no, I need to chase this for no other reason than like, I just feel called to, like, I need to know what's here before I can move on with anything else. I will take that. I like that a lot. Because look, you're leaving fear behind, right? Possibly something with a Capricorn. And I'm not going to say negative or positive. For some of you, something about this may very strongly involve a Capricorn or a Leo, maybe both, right? Some of you, your wish fulfillment is going to pursue that thing with the Capricorn just to see, right? Others of you, maybe it has to do with a Leo. It doesn't have to be with that zodiac sign. Something about Capricorn being very much related to 10th house activities, which does have to do with your public life. I think a lot of you are taking a risk and putting yourself out there. Even if it's not in a completely, totally public way, maybe you're launching something on YouTube and you are having to put yourself out there and it's a little bit scary, but you've come to the fact that, well, if I never launch it, I'm always going to sit back and wonder. As much as I want to delay this because I can come up with a million reasons why I shouldn't, maybe I should start looking glass half full of, well, maybe there's a million reasons why I should, and in order to understand those reasons, I have no choice but to move forward. So you know what I mean? Like strength of character. You're hearing the word artillery, but it's like you have a lot going for you, and you're more apt to believe in yourself now because of this time that you've spent in isolation or seclusion, however you want to say it. Introspection. So this was my favorite message that came out, and I hope you guys think it's as cool as I do, but this is essentially, how do you view yourself? You grew into this beautiful, strong tree out of something that had to die. Your shadow side, right? After something that essentially needed to exit your life, be released, let go, detach from. Something that was probably tremendously painful. Maybe there was a lot of tears. Maybe there was a lot of sadness. Whatever it is, this is like Phoenix from the ashes. A lot of Scorpionic vibes. Not that this card is necessarily associated with Scorpio, but the idea of transformation, you grew from a place of darkness, and that's why this period, especially if you're still going through it, of isolation, introspection, hermit mode, right? Something beautiful is going to come out of this place of darkness. And I would argue this doesn't even have to be a place of darkness, but it does have to do with getting in touch with yourself, and by default, you can't do that when you're surrounded by people, right? Hermit mode, right? That's what we call it. Eventually you get to a point where you have nothing to lose, and the more you start to wander down that path that you are manifesting, it's not just sitting there hoping and wishing and praying it comes in. It's being active, right? Action, fire, taking those steps towards your dreams. Things start to sprout from the earth again. Something that you thought was dead, something that you thought was null and void, however you want to say it, it starts to grow buds. And for some of you, again, it's not necessarily, you can always look at this from, maybe you reconnect with someone from the past, sure, because you thought it was over. More or less, that's not the main message, but this is your tarot reading, so you interpret it as however you want. I would say something that you're really grappling with ending or leaving behind. Eventually, a lot of you make the decision to do that, and that's where there's tremendous growth. From facing that shadow side, from doing that thing that scares you or gives you a little bit of anxiety, that's where the gems lie, right? And so I just hope that shows to you all as a confirmation, something really big is coming from this delay or coming from this stagnancy, because essentially you had to release and let go of something for something beautiful to come about. This is about your spiritual growth. I just think this card is so cool. So cool. This is the 10 of Wands in this deck. So then that's how you see yourself. So again, Phoenix from the ashes, reinvigorated, finding reason to live, finding your passion, reconnecting again with what lights your fire, what grows your oak tree, right? How other people see you as the Knight of Wands. Again, I think this is badass. This card is kind of crazy looking. I don't know if I love the illustration, but I love what it represents. It's like people see you and you are just glowing. Or people see you and they're very inspired. They're awestruck by how passionate and determined you are to go after that thing that, again, maybe at one point in time, it was giving you a lot of anxiety. Maybe at one point in time, it was your handicap. It was what was slowing you down. You've switched the script. Some of you, I just keep seeing songwriters with this. And a lot of you have, again, adopted this mentality. I'm going to try and to stop forcing things to fit when the universe is clearly telling me that puzzle piece doesn't go there. When you release control and realign elsewhere, things start to take off in a very rapid way for you. That's what Knight of Wands is. Knight of Wands has been coming up a lot in my daily tarots and stuff I've been doing on Instagram, and it reminds us are you having fun? Remember to be curious, go on adventures, be silly, because the minute things get dull and boring for the Knight of Wands, he is out. He dips, right? And there's a time and a place for that. Is he the most responsible knight? Is he the most reliable knight? No, but if you're looking to, if you've been very responsible for the last year, maybe this is time to, go on that vacation, buy that thing that you've been saving for, that you deserve. And I mean, I'm not saying that's the same advice and guidance for all of you, but the Knight of Wands, it's he's YOLO. He's let's live in the now. Let's live in the moment. I want to feel alive. Because a lot of you were not, right? That skull ultimately representing the idea of death and decay. What had to die out from your life? And now that has been removed, you have some extra room to do something. Maybe you have extra money. Maybe you have extra time. Maybe you have extra energy. Maybe you have none of those things, but I would argue you're still going to go after whatever this is for you. These two are very much tied together. There's a lot of fire energy in what's coming in. So it's Aries season, a beautiful time to utilize that fire energy, that passion, that creativity, that spirituality. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Look at your birth chart. See what area of life do those fall in. Is it your career? Is it your love and relationships? Is it matters of your home? Is it your education? Is it travel opportunities? Is it, wherever it falls? Is it how you make your money? Does it have to do with your ego, with your identity? Really see where the fire falls in your chart, because that's essentially where, for the collective, you guys are going to be seeing shifts and changes, right? We're having, I think, with this Libra full moon, which may have already passed by the time you view this video, but no matter, there's a trine happening there, right? So trines being blessings, good things are happening in the areas of life that are ruled by fire. So if you know how to look up your chart, I highly recommend you do that. So what is the final advice or guidance? I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly, right? Show yourself off. The idea of peacocking, luxuriate yourself, honor your truth, be who you are, and don't care what other people think or say. Because ultimately it's your life. There's something tremendously freeing about that, right? Because essentially it's saying you can do whatever you want, but you're accountable for it, right? And so with that, there's this heavy oh God, well, am I ready? I think you are, because I think you've been waiting for so long for someone to give you permission to do something, or waiting for the right answer to become crystal clear, that you're never going to miss out on this opportunity. I promise you it will come back again and again, because FYI, it's what you're meant to go after. But more or less, it's the longer you wait, I think the more you get lost in your own head and your anxiety, and you start second guessing yourself. And I feel like that's something that the magician doesn't need to do. He's kind of already been through it, right? He's card 1 in this new cycle. So this is a new chapter. This is a new you. This is you coming out of hermit mode and deciding, you know what? Maybe in this one lifetime, it's one life to live, and here we go. I'm going to do it so that I don't have to live in regret anymore. This is you at one point in life living in regret, but see how you've grown away from that. Your branches are growing stronger now. You're more rooted. You're older, right? You have more age. You have more wisdom. You have more experience under your belt. So I would offer you, maybe you tried to do this once, whatever this is. Maybe you tried to be a musician or a rock star once. Whatever it is, guys, metaphors. Maybe you weren't able to do it because you didn't have enough knowledge the first time around. And there's something wrong with that, right? Maybe that was all written in the stars. Maybe you were supposed to go after it and quote unquote fail so that you could understand, the areas where you did need to get more knowledge, have a greater understanding, learn more about yourself so you could network or be more confident so that you could go after it a second time and absolutely fucking crush it, right? Like, what if this was all written? What if there was no error and there was no mistake? Because more or less, that's what this is telling me. You were always going to go after this. You just had to get comfortable with the idea and you had to be certain of yourself. Or as close to that as you can be. Because I would argue some of you are not certain, but you're not going to let that hold you back anyway. And I like that, right? And that's, again, the Knight of Wands. He's a risk taker. Does it always work out? No, it doesn't. But he has such a lighthearted nature about him. He's very optimistic that even his failures, they don't crush him the way that they would crush the Knight of Pentacles. Because the Knight of Pentacles is like a little tight ass, right? He's very responsible. He'll get it done. But anything that falters off course or isn't in his itinerary, it's like, oh my God, he has no sense of fun, adventure because it's by the book. And again, sometimes that serves us. In this, I get that whatever it is you're trying to go towards or manifest, there is no playing it safe. That's not an option anymore, right? So if this message doesn't resonate for you, then, don't take it. It's not your message. There's something big coming in for you, but you need to show universe that you're in it by taking that leap of faith. And I'm going to say it this way, doing something you've never done before, doing it a little bit differently, because I think the results will be worth it. I'm literally hearing cozy. You're going to be all wrapped up in this, whatever it is, whether it's getting to that destination or even, I'm going to say the cheesy thing, the adventures along the way and getting to this destination. It feels like the perfect fit for you. I think a lot of you, again, you may even have that, well, why didn't I do this years ago? Because it wasn't meant to happen years ago. Again, you had to go through this major transformation. But you've done the work, you've transformed, and so now what? What is this going to be? Is this aligning to your soulmate? Is this aligning to your perfect job or your coworker who essentially is like your key counterpart for most of your career, whatever this is? It could be something with a Gemini, the end result of this, or again, just setting the ball in motion to go after whatever this is. Something about it may involve a Gemini. It may involve someone you fall tremendously in love with. I would even offer the idea of Beauty and the Beast, the pairing of opposites. Learning a lot about somebody who comes from a different background, a different world, and you guys come together and it's like the perfect yin to your yang. There's a tremendous amount of, yes, learning, but being able to step outside your ego and understand things from a different perspective, especially about yourself too. I don't mean that you were being too harsh or crude on others. I'm sure, maybe some of you were. It has to do with like kind of cutting yourself a break too. The idea of being able to see the forest from the trees, you couldn't because it's like you hadn't grown into that. You didn't have that development, that wisdom, that knowledge yet. I just keep wanting to say, go after this. I have to be honest, for a lot of you, this seems like it involves travel. Does it have to? Of course not. This could be, launching your business. This could be professing feelings for someone that you have a huge crush on, something like that. I keep kind of hearing, if this is romantic, there's something about sort of cuddling them into submission. And again, I want to be careful how I say that because that's more or less like a cute, fluffy message. It's not about forcing yourself on them or making them see how good you are. They're naturally going to see how good you are, but I'm going to rephrase it like this. Rather than, forcing them to submit, it's like they are... It's almost like I don't know how to say it without it sounding manipulative, because it's not. If there's something about you, it's not like you cast a spell. You charm them in some way. Anyway. Help me find the word. What am I trying to say? Like it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like singing someone a lullaby. I'm getting a lot of like music references, or you charm them, you cast a spell on them. This person just kind of falls in love with you and your being. And the thing is, you don't have to work tremendously hard at it. It's what they're attracted to. What they find so alluring is your ability to, first of all, your strength, but also your ability to pull ahead, to pick yourself back up when you fall and be really determined and keep going after it. There's just something, Again, there's a lot of self-respect and self-love that is very evident in the way you present yourself now. And I know a lot of you, that's a big change for you, right? Because you maybe used to be the little quiet, shy person who used to cower in the corner or whatever. That's not you anymore. You are boldly going where you have never gone before. Give me a couple on the lovers and we'll wrap it up. My face is so shiny. We had one day of sun and I sat outside for like 5 hours reading and then I got a sunburn. So that's my life. Anyway, look at these lovers. It's a mystery. You're not allowed to know. No, I think it has to do with you facing your fears. Do you see how in the past it starts as solo, hermit, individual, introspection, and then it ends up with finding someone who's in alignment with you? So again, whether it's friendship, family, whether it's your lover, whether it's your boss, you meet someone and there's great compatibility there. And I think it only comes with you facing the shadow side of yourself. It only comes when you go to the darkest of dark places and come out on the other end holding the torch, carrying the fire. Again, phoenix from the ashes. You align to your wishes, and this feels like your wishes start to come in. Or at minimum, they're much more clear than they used to be because you're better aligned with who you are now and what you want. Magician vibes, baby. All right, collective, that's what I got for you. This was a little bit different for me because I didn't get to say Pisces, Scorpio, Leo, all my zodiac signs. I didn't get to shout those out because this is collective. So I hope it spoke to some of you out there. If it did, please let me know in the comments below what resonates. Remember to smash the like button. That really does help me, guys. And yeah, I will see you soon for more tarot. Bye.